everybody, welcome back to another channel. Well, I suppose, yeah, welcome back to another channel if you've just been watching another channel on YouTube and you're in the middle of a YouTube binge. But welcome back to another video is what I actually meant to say. So 4 weeks ago now, I can't believe it's been that long, I made the decision to go fully barefoot with Vossi. This came after a number of months of really thinking it through, whether or not it was going to be the right decision for us, whether or not it would suit Vossi. And long story short, after really thinking it through and thinking about obviously Vossi's soft tissue injuries, I thought, why not give it a go? Like, what have I got to lose? If there is a period where he's a bit footsore, it's not like I've got like a training regime I have to stick to. If I'm going to try barefoot in my time with Vossi, now is the time to do it. For those of you who haven't been following the journey, we are now 24 weeks into rehabbing Vossi, and pretty much his journey of rehab has consisted of a seriously reduced amount of work, obviously, and we're at the stage now where he's had multiple therapies done, including 12 sessions of red light laser class 4 therapy, which was done in the very early stages 24 weeks ago. Something we've continued to have is Indiba. I think he's on like his 12th or 13th session of Indiba now. I've lost track because that's something we've continued to stick to throughout the whole journey of rehabbing him. He had 3 shockwave therapy sessions on his suspensory. And of course, as you can imagine, the whole sort of riding side of things have completely changed as well. So for the first sort of, I think it was 13 weeks into rehab, I was just hand walking him daily for about 30 minutes. We were told to have like a strict no turnout situation. However, with Vossi only having one other companion here at home, that simply wasn't doable, because my mum's pony is one of those that pretty much has to live out 24/7. He doesn't, because mum's already compromised that they come in at night and go out during the day. But for Ozzy to have to stay in 24/7 with Vossi, it would just cause absolute chaos, and yeah, it wouldn't end well. So I kind of had to be as clever as possible about the situation, and I decided to basically keep Vossi in his same routine of coming in and going out, but made him a really small pen. They kept their routine of going out during the day and in at night, but I reduced the hours. So instead of them going out for like 12 hours during the day, they went out for like 5 hours in the day. However, now we're like 24 weeks in, they're not back to their full routine, but they're certainly back to going out for longer. So I'd say they're going out for like 7 to 8 hours a day now, and then in at night. And in addition to him having Indiba every 2 weeks, he also has his equine on every sort of maybe a couple of times a week, 3 times a week at a push. So I'm definitely keeping up the therapy side of things. But as I said, in terms of the ridden work now, we are literally doing maybe 3, 4 up to 1 hour hacks now, with up to 10 minutes of trotting. And yeah, he feels absolutely fantastic. He looks fantastic. And I was saying in my previous videos, for those who haven't watched them, I don't think enough people give their horses this much time in their life, unless they do have an injury, to just be a horse. Let their full body restore and hit reset naturally. And one of those natural resets for Vossi is going barefoot. I can't remember I don't think he's ever been barefoot other than when he was a baby, obviously. I think he's now 12, so I think ever since he was probably 2 or 3, he's had shoes on for about 10 years. And this is the first time sort of taking them off. It's a big change. And I was honestly expecting the worst. I was expecting him to be footsore. I was expecting him to be crippled lame. And literally I've had the complete opposite, which has just taken me by full surprise. And I thought, because it has been, and I've been so lucky, touch wood, I mean, we're only 4 weeks in, there's still plenty of time for things to go wrong, but touch wood, things don't go wrong. But I thought, since it has been such a successful, smooth transition for us, I thought I'd share some sort of like hints and tips that I've got for you guys to kind of help anyone else that's out there that kind of wants to or is considering transitioning to barefoot. So first of all, it wasn't a decision I made lightly. I did my research before, and there are two ways of looking at it. You can either be a bit more like my mum in the sense of you just do it and you just hope and pray it all works out, or you could be a bit more structured like myself and do your homework, read other people's situation stories, and try and sort of put places in order to prevent things from happening. So here are Vossi shoes from 4 weeks ago. So before we took the fronts off, I actually had the backs off. So I had the backs off, I think about 3 months ago. So he had his back shoes off for about 2 months before he had his fronts off, and he's been completely barefoot now for 4 weeks, meaning backs and fronts have been completely off. And oh my goodness, his feet look phenomenal. I cannot wait to get to the part of the video where I'll bring Vossi in from the field, because he's currently out in the field grazing. We can really look at his feet, and I'll show you the differences from 4 weeks ago to today. But yeah, this video I wanted to share, as I said, some of my tips along the way of why I think it has been successful, and if I can help anyone else out there who, as I said, is thinking about doing it, then by all means, I hope this video helps. So the first thing that I really want to stress is that, having spoken with my farrier at the time, we both agreed that the time of year to go barefoot for Vossi would be at a time where the ground isn't rock solid, but also isn't soaking wet and thick mud or clay. Thankfully, we're not on clay here, we're on soil. So it just so happened, it was like, I think it must have been early September that we made the decision that that would be the right time to take them off and give it a try, because at that point we'd had a really hot summer this summer. Anyone in the UK will know, around the southeast region, again, it was like Sahara Desert, where everything was concrete, there was no grazing, we had hardly any rain, and everything was just concrete. And for a horse like Vossi that could potentially have been very prone to being footsore, putting him out in a field on rock solid concrete ground would not have been ideal conditions. So anyway, we did it at a time where the ground, where we'd had a little bit of rain, the ground had softened up just ever so slightly. Don't get me wrong, a few days into this just ever so slightly ground, we then had a massive dry spell again, and the ground did return back to concrete, which did worry me. However, Vossi, touch wood, thankfully didn't respond negatively to the ground hardening up back to concrete level. So that is one thing I'd say I think really made the decision easier for me, was knowing that I'd spoken to my farrier at the time and the transition period was correct. Now, this is me being super cautious. There are a lot of people out there that will do the transition to barefoot at any time of year, but they will have to think about how to adapt to make it work for their horse, if, say, they do it in winter, or if they do it in spring or a different time of year. Do you know what I mean? So this is just me sharing my experience. So pretty much straight away after taking the shoes off, the first 2 days he was really footsore, and basically we just had to limit his exposure on concrete as much as possible. So I'm really lucky where I am at my parents', because we don't have concrete. We have a tiny space of concrete outside the stables, and that is it. Everything else is grass. So that's another thing I'd say be really consider. If you're at a yard where, say, you've got a lot of gravel down, you've got a lot of tarmac, you've got a lot of concrete, say your horse, for example, when it comes out the stable, it has to walk quite a lot on stones or gravel, or, as I said, concrete to get to the field every day. Consider that, because that's not something I had to deal with. It was very much a case of Vossi always went from a nice shavings bed, 2 strides on concrete, immediately straight onto grass. And I think that had a massive impact of the transition playing out so smooth. So yeah, definitely consider the terrain at which you have at your stables, because I know a lot of people that do make the transition do actually straight away put their horses in boots, hoof boots, even from the walk from the stable to the field, so that the horses don't get sensitive on the stony area. And then when they're out in the field, they just, before they take the head collar off, they'll just take the boots off. So yeah, very lucky in that sense that, as I said, minimal concrete, minimal gravel terrain. It's literally shavings in the stable and rubber matting, out to the field. So that really helped Voss, and that's definitely something that impacted our transition and made it really smooth. Whilst on the topic of stable and shavings, I am so grateful, as I always say, to be very kindly sponsored by Hunterwood Shavings. And of course that has meant along this transition, Vossi has been very lucky to have a really comfortable, cozy, supportive bed for his feet. And what that means is, by bulking up his beds more, bringing the shavings all the way to the door, when he stood there looking outside the door, those shavings are just going to add as a bit more support, alleviate some of that pressure, and just make it a bit more spongier underneath his hooves, so it's not so, there's not so much impact going onto the hoofs. So I definitely say, at least for the first few weeks, try and bulk up your beds more so that the horse has got a bit more support under its feet. And if you haven't already got rubber matting, definitely rubber mat as well. That's definitely a good tip I can certainly give. I did mention earlier about hoof boots, and this is something I got on to straight away, because I was really worried about having Vossi barefoot for a few days before I could sort out the hoof boot situation. We worked with the hoof boot shop on selecting the right hoof boot choice for Vossi, and I was conscious that the process of getting and finding the right boot for Vossi would take a bit of time, and then also the posting as well. All of this in mind, Vossi's newly barefoot, oh my goodness, I need boots ASAP was all that I was stressing about. Anyway, after speaking with the lovely team at the hoof boot shop, we concluded that Vossi needed to start with, as a starter boot anyway, these it's quite grimy, sorry about that, as you can see, very worn, the Cavallo Trek boot. These so far, see if I can get them out, they're quite embedded in. We added some pads, and all this does is it just provides more, you can kind of see how Vossi's hoof is imprinted in here. It's just another layer of protection. It's almost like us wearing insoles. No, actually, it depends what kind of insole, but these kind of insoles are like, almost like, they're not, but they are like, for humans, the equivalent of us wearing memory foam insoles, just to make them a bit more comfier, give the foot a bit more support. So yeah, I got the hoof boots and I use these when we go out hacking. We've also got gravel at the front of the house at the stables, so it was really important for me, before I even considered taking Vossi out of the field, that he'd have these hoof boots on to protect his soles, so we can literally go from the front of the house onto the hacking route, which was all on tarmac. So he wears these each time we get hacking. They are so simple to put on. You literally just put the hoof in there, Velcro it up, and you're done. When you get a new pair of boots, specifically these hoof boots, a bit like when we buy a new pair of shoes, some horses are susceptible to rubbing. We know Vossi's a sensitive horse, so it was recommended that I popped some socks on. So it just so happened I was very lucky that I already owned a pair of Incrediwear socks. Honestly, when you look at the state of these things, it blows my mind that even I was stupid enough to pay £75 for these. £75 for these socks. Anyway, they've done the job in terms of preventing rubs, but the sole purpose of actually having those Incrediwear socks is to help boost circulation and blood flow to the horse's legs, which is why I bought them in the first place. And you can also wet them, hose your horse's legs down, and they're really good to help reduce inflammation and things like that. So they do serve as multi-purpose, but still, £75 is a bit steep. But we all know, if anything has the word equestrian or equine in the front of it, we've got an extra 0 on the end of it, which is so infuriating. Trust me, I did consider if I could go into Primark and find something similar, but I haven't yet got around to that. So so yeah, hoof boots, definitely recommend. They have really helped us on our barefoot journey over these past 4 weeks. And I'm actually at the stage now where Vossi's hooves, which you'll see soon, have grown out slightly. They've grown out quite a lot. They've completely changed shape. And now I'm at the point of thinking, now what do I do? Because he's actually booked in to have his hooves trimmed in 3 weeks' time on a 6-week cycle. And I'm not actually sure if he's going to continue to be able to fit in those boots. So I'm also thinking, what do I do now? So it might be a case of I may need to have to get another pair of boots which I know it is expensive, but when you think about how much you're saving by not paying the farrier bills, it does work out. Some of you are probably thinking, how much are these? I'm pretty sure a single boot retails at £89 for a Cavallo track boot. I could be wrong, but it's around the £89 to £100 mark per boot. These last you years and years and years and years. I've had people, sorry, I thought that was a spider then. It's not, it's just the, it's just, it's spider season. I genuinely do not like spiders. So yeah, I think it may be a case of I have to go and get another pair of boots. Was looking at scoot boots because a lot of you guys have recommended the scoot boots, and another reason why I think scoot boots would be better than these come winter time when we've got a lot of rain, he's going to get muddy and wet and dirty out on hacks, is that the mesh material I feel is going to get really wet and take quite a long time to dry, whereas with the scoot boots, because they're fully plastic with quite a lot of breathable holes around them, you can dry them simply with a towel. So from a time saving point of view, I feel like it makes more sense. So yeah, moving on to my next point about what I feel like has been really good for my mental state of this transition. I was very quick to recognize that farriers are there to fit shoes. Now, I don't want to upset or disgruntle anybody out there who uses farriers for their barefoot horses, because that's absolutely fine, each their own. But one thing that I was really made aware of with this transition was to get in contact with an equine podiatrist, because they specialize in trimming barefoot. So as farriers are experts in fitting shoes, equine podiatrists are expert at trimming horses' hooves and ensuring that they are fully balanced, fully healthy, trimmed where they need to be trimmed to help support the horse's ligaments, tendons, bone structures better. Again, some farriers might have this skill set, some may not, but I was definitely told to have a look at equine podiatrists, which is what I did. And in just 3 weeks' time, I've actually got an equine podiatrist who I haven't yet met, who is also a veterinary nurse as well, who I've, funnily enough, had Vossi's feet x-rayed just literally before we went barefoot. And I've popped across all the x-rays so she can look at what's going on there in his feet. We have had confirmed from the vet that they all look great. But even if there are like mild changes in sort of the navicular bones or anything like that, it's really good that those x-rays go to my equine podiatrist, because she'll be able to see what the foot looks like, what we're working with, and how we can best have Vossi's feet, basically. So in terms of like all of those little tips and things that I can give, that's pretty much it. Oh, actually, no, it's not. Trying to prevent things like thrush and abscesses. Okay, so I am very well aware that abscesses are more likely in winter. When the hooves get wet, they soften up and they're more prone to getting holes in them if, say, a horse stands on a stone or a sharp object. Because, as I said, because it's been fairly dry these past 4 weeks, he hasn't yet got or experienced a softer hoof yet. So I have been very on it, making sure that there are no stones around, which sounds crazy. But as I said, for anyone that's at a yard with lots of stones, I highly recommend hoof booting it to help prevent any abscesses or things like that. But I've also got, just in case, an emergency medical hoof boot here in case I need to sort of poultice his foot and extract any pus or grossness from an abscess in his foot. Just little measures like that I've taken just in case. The main thing here is that I've been really on it with cleaning his feet. So I pick his feet out every single day. The biggest change I've seen, that you guys will see soon, is that his frog has completely spread, and this has impacted his hoof wall and created sort of a deeper area between the frog and the hoof wall, which you have to be really careful you clean out properly with the hoof pick. So I've been really thorough with picking out all the bits of grime, dirt, poo that he stands in overnight out of his hooves. And then I also use this fantastic product which a lot of you recommended to me, which is called the Red Horse Hoof Paste, and essentially it is fantastic for keeping those hooves in as great condition as possible. And I'll put that on about once a week. It's like a clayey mixture, and as I said, it keeps the hoof clean, it keeps it strong, and it also keeps bacteria out of the hoof and things like thrush from forming. Now, my final point about what else I've been doing to make the journey from being shod to barefoot a smoother transition is switching up Vossi supplements. Now, your horse's diet is so important in this journey. I cannot stress it enough. As I said, I'm very lucky. It's only Vossi and Aussie at home. We have about 13 acres of grazing here. So grazing isn't really a problem. They have great grazing all year round, which they're very lucky to have. He also gets his feeds on top of that, which consist of the Bailey's Meadow Cobs and Performance Balancer, which are fantastic for getting his vitamins and minerals in, and the Meadow Cobs are fantastic for making sure he's got enough fibre in his gut. And then of course we have added supplements too. He has been on the Feedmark Barefoot formula for 3 weeks of his barefoot transition. We ran out, and I have now recently switched to Hardy Hoof, also by Feedmark. And the reason being for this is that Hardy Hoof has biotin in it, which is a great supplement to help support hoof health. So we're giving this a whirl, but the barefoot formula was incredible for Vossi. It was really good. I mean, the ingredients in any of the Feedmark supplements are absolutely incredible. But for me personally, I wanted to give Hardy Hoof a real shot with Vossi. And also, having spoken with one of my equine veterinary friends, she also said that it'd probably be best to try Vossi on Hardy Hoof with the biotin involved in the supplement too. So it's been a roller coaster in terms of ensuring his diet's correct, ensuring his supplements are correct, ensuring the terrain in which his feet are on is correct, ensuring I'm cleaning his feet correctly, ensuring his boots are correctly fitted and he's wearing them at the right time. But honestly, if you want your transition to be smooth with as minimal complications as possible, I do think you do need to do your research, do your homework. There's not a lot of homework involved. I personally learned a lot of my information from the Equine Podiatry Association. So for anyone else out there who feels like they are lost and they don't know what they're doing, that was me 4 weeks ago, I promise. And that is still me now. I'm only 4 weeks into this. Come winter, when everything changes, when we lose grazing, when we have a lot more mud, when the hoof softens up, I could be dealing with a lot of challenges coming my way. But I certainly feel like doing your research, have a look at the Equine Podiatry Association, watch some YouTube videos. There's so much content out there now on social media. Just give yourself a bit of a knowledge boost in the area and you'll be absolutely fine. But anyway, I've done my rambling. I feel like I've given you guys all of my best tips that I can possibly share with you, and certainly things that I feel have definitely made this process simpler. I think it's now time to go get Vossi in from the field and show you this amazing transition. So I went down to bring the horses in. They were in the paddocks a bit further away from the house today. We alternate them between close to the house and further away from the house just to give them as much variety and grazing as possible. Brought him in, he was having a little spook at me and ready to give him a groom and talk through the situation with his feet. So just brought Voss in from the field and he's got a little itch. Don't know about you guys, but Vossi has already had his first clip this season because he gets really hairy. And I've actually had quite a few people messaging me saying, why would you clip Vossi now he's not in full work and he's, you know, being rehabbed, which is a good question. And the reason I have clipped him is, I've mentioned this before on Instagram, is because he is a really sensitive horse when it comes to sweating. And believe it or not, going out for an hour and just doing an hour of walking and up to 10 minutes of trot work, he does sweat a lot on his neck. And if I don't clean off the grease and the sweat off his body, he's prone to lumps and bumps and bacterial infections. So by having him freshly clipped, I can just simply wipe him down easy with a microfiber cloth, just to clean off that sweat after a ride, and he'll dry a lot quicker as well. So I'm able to put a rug on him afterwards. Anyway, this video isn't about that. This video is about his transition to barefoot. I'm so excited for you guys to see how his feet really have transformed in 4 weeks. So Mum, who's kindly got the camera right now, do you want to just bring the camera around? I'm going to lift his feet up so you can see the underneath of them first. So if you just come from that angle from behind. So this is his right fore. And as you can see, the frog has widened so much, which is what we wanted. And a bit of feedback we got from the hoof boot shop was that his frog and his hooves were really contracted. So the fact that after 4 weeks his frog's really widened, his hoof lining's grown down, it's absolutely brilliant. So I'm really happy that in just 4 weeks we've seen this change, and it's a very positive change indeed. And as you can see here, the contraction was mostly visible in this part of his hoof here, where I'll include a photo here of how they looked just 4 weeks ago. There was no visible line here. It was just completely squished together, and now, as you can see, we've got a visible spreading of the frog, which is just going to give Vossi's ligaments and tendons and bones more support, and also help with the blood supply to the leg, which of course comes from the frog touching the floor. So it's absolutely fantastic. So now we are looking at Vossi's left fore. So again, Mum, if you want to just come around from this angle, we can see, well, look at all the growth here. We've got bits of hoof coming up here, and this is all normal, part of the process. Bits of the frog that are fraying away, and this is all just due to the growth of the hoof and the changes of the hoof as well. He has had a little bit of hoof crack come off from the side of the hoof here. Totally normal and expected, very early days. This is because his feet aren't used to being barefoot, as we know. He's only 4 weeks in, and cracking is all part of the process till the hooves get really, really solid and firm. And once again, you can see that the frog has expanded and the hoof wall has certainly grown. So really good stuff that we're seeing. And again, the contraction that we had here a matter of 4 weeks ago, where there was literally no gap here. This was completely closed shut. You can see it's starting to open up, get a bit wider, and provide that support he needs, and the frog being able to touch the floor to provide more blood flow to the leg, which is absolutely fantastic. So this is what his feet look like from the front. As expected, we've got a little bit of cracking up the hooves, a little bit of hoof has been lost there, a little bit of cracking there, and this is completely normal. So I have been told not to be concerned about this. He did also lose quite a fair chunk of hoof. If I just come around here, you'll see it. Again, totally normal and expected so early on in the transition to going barefoot. But I suspect over the next sort of 6 months, when these nail holes from being shod previously grow fully down, we are going to continue to experience those small cracks. Oh, that's not a crack, that was a bit of grass, but there you can see a small crack just there. So it's really important just to keep on top of the hoof care that I've previously mentioned for Vossi. One thing that I did forget to mention that I do when I'm taking care of Vossi's hoof on a daily basis is after I've picked them out, I do also use the Kevin Bacon hoof treatment, and I do put that on his hooves as well. That's also another great way of really caring for the hooves. Whatever you do put on your hooves, make sure it's an oil-based product. I know there are so many different variants of hoof oils and hoof glosses and hoof gels that you can put on. The one thing I've always been told to do is to make sure that it's a hoof oil. So it's got oil-based ingredients within the hoof treatment that you put on your horse's hooves. And yeah, so I am actually going to put some hoof oil on his hoofs now. But you know, 24 weeks into rehab, he's not looking bad, apart from that big hoof stain on his back leg. So I've spoken about the front hooves, and as I said previously, Vossi has been barefoot on his back hooves for about 3 months now. He's always had really good feet, and that was one of the reasons why I bought him, was because he had really good hoof conformation. But as you can see here, his back hooves are coping really well, and actually a lot less cracks in his back hooves than in his front. They've taken a lot better than his fronts actually, so really strong hooves there. So this is one of his hind end hooves. Again, the frog spread really nicely. You can see that his back feet are a lot stronger and tougher than his front feet. They look stronger, and there's a lot less sort of breakage and damage around the hoof wall as well, which indicates that they're a lot stronger too. But yeah, really happy with his backs. Well, I've just talked through Vossi's hooves over the past 4 weeks, and I thought it'd be quite nice, since I am literally doing a groundwork session with him now, to kind of show you guys how he's now striding through a set of walking poles 4 weeks barefoot. I just personally, I feel like he strides out better, he's moving better, but I wanted to film it, so I thought I'd include it in this YouTube video just to have a little look. I'll put it in normal motion, sorry, I'll put it in normal speed, and then I'll put it in 0.5 so we can see it in slow motion, how he's really moving through his body on both the left rein and right rein. Well, I will leave you guys to decide and comment in the comment section below what you thought about Vossi moving over those poles there. I've popped his rug on, given him a groom, sorted his feet out, put the hay nets on to soak for tonight's hay for them, soaked his feeds, and on that note, I'm going to leave this video here, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you've taken away at least 1 or 2 points from this video, which may help you on your barefoot journey if you're planning on going barefoot with your horse or horses. Take care, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.